Hey everyone, Joe Waxman here, the mediocre astrologer. Meh, he's okay. Guys, today I'm doing something different. I have my friend Liv with me. He's a client, a friend, a supporter. I've done some readings for him, and I asked him if he wanted to come on and join me to do a special reading. We're going to read one of his friend's chart, and he's going to speak for this friend, his friend Lisa. So we're going to read her chart, and yeah, I just wanted to demonstrate a more personal reading, what that's like. So let's get into it. Uh, yeah, Liv's not on camera, but he's here. Liv, do you want to say hi?
Yeah, hey everybody. I'm very grateful to be here to share this space, and hopefully I can provide value to whatever it is that we're speaking on in the chart.
Awesome. All right, let me share the screen. All right, so this is Lisa, Liv's friend. July 11th, 1995, 5:56 p.m. Is that all correct to your knowledge?
Yeah.
Liv? Okay. So just give me a little bit of context about your friend. You've known her for what, a couple years?
Yeah, a few years. I met her on a clubhouse space at first, and then I got to know a little bit more about her through like the business aspect on that clubhouse. And she does a lot of she's really interested in business things, but she really is interested in this niche of the divine feminine. And so she like has a lot of content around women and empowering women a lot. She's very business minded, but she's also very much like a solid, reliable person that is honestly just so so much a hard worker.
Interesting. Alrighty. Sag rising with Jupiter in Sagittarius in the 12th house, retrograde. So there must be something a bit I don't know, esoteric, mystical, creative, something where she's diving into the subconscious realm quite a bit. Can you speak to that at all? Do you know?
Yeah. I would definitely say she is probably a psychic medium. Even though she hasn't honed in on her powers, she's had a lot of dreams with me and some other friends where she's like told us things about like, hey, like I just checking up on you because I feel like this, and it's like actually very accurate. So she's really, really good at
Oh,
that.
nice, nice. And that would also tie into this Pluto and Scorpio on the 12th, which is going to be very powerful. Both of them are retrograde, so that tells me that she's going to be a bit more um, non-conventional, especially with Jupiter, not really religious in the conventional sense. It's not ruling out religion, it's just not conventionally religious. And same with Pluto. Pluto is a very deep, powerful planet. So it's going to deal with the psychology. Something very fundamental about the person is going to um, have this sort of push against society, doing things in a different way, resistance, non-conventionality, questioning. Plus, I have Pluto on the 12th, and I'll speak to that just a little bit. It is a very challenging position, potentially, because a lot of people, you can tend to ignore planets in the 12th, but they're very important to pay attention to because it's just subconscious. And I spoke about that in the video that I made recently. Pluto in the 12th really creates a very intense, heavy duty kind of subconscious mind where if you're not aware, you're not conscious of it, it can become a destructive influence, right? But the flip side of that is that if you really work with it, you heal your wounds, you heal your trauma, you heal your negative conditioning, and you work to reprogram consciously your negative your subconscious mind, then Pluto can be an incredible asset, right? I know for myself, when I do the work that I know I need to do to heal and to consciously take action to program my subconscious mind, it's tremendously powerful. It's more difficult with the retrogrades, in fact, because the resistance factor is multiplied. So it's like, you're less vulnerable to the bullshit in society. Like I'm completely immune. Like, you could take like I don't give a shit what the authorities say. I'm just like, fuck off. I'm gonna do whatever I want. I'm gonna think what I want, right? But at the same time, my subconscious is so stubborn because it is Pluto retrograde, it's a Libra, and then Uranus retrograde on the ascendant. It's like really difficult to work with because it wants to resist everything. But once you do move the needle, it can be very, very powerful and empowering. So that's interesting. But there could be definitely something very psychic, esoteric, mystical, psychological, astrological, occult knowledge type stuff with this position here. So yeah, interesting. I'm sure she's an interesting person.
Yeah, she's very spiritual. We actually talk a lot about alchemy and exploring into the subconscious mind and how your thoughts, like that type of stuff, we talk about it a lot because that's what she helps her clientele with, like changing their mindset.
Yeah, yeah. And I just did in one of my videos, I looked at Barbara Payton, who had Pluto in the 12th, who was an actress, an old actress, like in the 50s, I think. Um, and then some bad stuff happened to her, and she reverted to drugs and alcohol and prostitution after she was a successful actress, and she had Pluto in the 12th. And so it was like that was one of the major contributors to that, not the only thing, but it's like that heavy duty, it can really drag you through the mud if you don't, pay attention to it. So yeah, it's good to be aware of these things. So then Sun, Venus, Mercury in Cancer in the 7th, and then Sun's conjuncting the 8th cusp from the 7th. So you mentioned the female empowerment type stuff. So that's prominent with Cancer often, especially with women. Venus and Mercury together is a great combination. It shows you see this a lot with artists, but like just in general, it shows like that the communication is going to become beautiful, right? Or feminine or aesthetic.
Yeah, I would definitely add she has a very keen eye for aesthetics, like with her Instagram, her business front, it's very like professionally elegant. It's so Venusian. Like if I had to guess, I would literally think she's uh, Libra.
Yeah, I mean that's Venus and Mercury are great for all kinds of creative outlets, creative expression, arts. It's a really nice combination because Mercury being communication, Venus being beauty and aesthetics. It's feminine. Venus rules Taurus, Mercury rules Gemini. It's a healthy, natural, good combinations. It's just one that really works well together often. And you can see it's got some nice aspect to the nodes. That's really good. Let's see here. Venus is ruling the 5th house, which is great for all arts. Mercury's ruling, Venus is ruling the 5th and 6th cusp. It is the 6th whole sign house. Mercury's the 7th in the 7th and the 9th. So generally she likes to, she needs other people in her life. She needs to communicate, talk to. Also, Venus in the 7th can be very flirtatious, of course, but just very friendly with others in general. Good for business, good for talking to people in general, right? Communicating, good communications. 5th house, creativity, fun, entertainment. Um, Sun in the 7th can be a bit challenging because from relationships because it's like ego can get in the way. However, this is actually in conjunct the ascendant, which is the original nature of the eighth house. So it is pulling in some 8th house qualities, which would, excel her in psychology, astrology, um, sort of intimacy. But it's still 7th, 8th, I would say, mixture. So she's very good with people, but just and she probably is attracted to very powerful people as well because of the sun here. Um, she just needs to be careful of ego in relationships, not to become overly because the sun can blind everything that's near it, so it's like the sun in the seventh will tend to dominate the relationships. Great for performance though. Yeah, but psychic for sure, I would say, like definitely intuitive, right? Psychic possibly, but yeah, definitely heavily intuitive, right? And you already said that she had psychic abilities, right?
Yeah, she definitely does. So a lot of the times, some of her friends would come to her. Like you said, she has a lot of friends,
Yeah.
and they would come to her for like, honestly, it's I would say like kind of like therapy, because even though she doesn't have a psychology degree, the way she can break people down is like it's very close to that. Like she can pinpoint deeper underlying things that you don't necessarily see.
And that's exactly what the eighth house is about. Because, I mean, in this modern society, we have this idea that you can't know anything unless you go to school and get a degree, which is total crap. It's bullshit. Because what the eighth house is about is discovery. And any strong eighth house Scorpio placements have this ability to dig deep and discover. I mean, 12th house too, it's a little more, it can be, there's a lot more loss in the 12th house. People have difficulty getting out of the 12th house because it's the house of the personal subconscious. There's a lot of victimization in the 12th house, but the 8th house really lends itself to that sort of gold mine, diamond mine, oil mine. It's a mine, right? And with mines have precious things inside them. So you can go inside yourself digging and discover all kinds of things, right? And that's what I'm doing. That's what I do all the time. Like I discover all just by research, right? Research is the key. You need to put in effort, but then you discover stuff. So somebody with, especially water sign that's on the eighth house cusp or close to it, Pluto and Scorpio on the 12th, naturally, like you said, she doesn't have to have a psychology degree. She just has this ability, plus North Node and Scorpio. Yeah. I mean, she's a deep diver. She can discover things on her own. She doesn't need a degree. Natural, intuitive, um, therapist, psychological therapist. So for sure. Venus is the MC Lord, and that's conjunct Mercury in the seventh. Also ninth. So that's also spiritual, right? Spiritual, philosophical. Like obviously she's not conventionally religious, but definitely high-minded because Mercury's ruling the ninth and the seventh, conjunct Venus, MC. So for career, I mean, it's like a therapist, counselor, right? What kind of what's her business again? What does she do?
So she consults a lot of business owners to help them create a more like soft, feminine approach to their business aspects. She also helps people rebrand their businesses to actually make it more healthy for them. So it's not too, I guess, quote unquote, masculine or not too hard for the business and to be more attractive.
Nice. Go on.
Yeah, and aside from that, I would definitely say that she's really good at marketing. Like she's been approached to help people build their brands and advertise, and she has a good eye for what you said, where she can see what is not there for most people. Like she's come to me with amazing business ideas that I've like, wow, like her perspective on things is always a very nice refresher. So
Yeah, I bet she seems like, yeah, therapy, counseling, psychology, and beautification, aesthetics. Uh, Having a really good eye and ability to communicate that. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Plus, she's got this second house um planets. Um, I just want to say, like, just depend. I was about to say stellium. Just like I see all this all the time. Like, don't get caught up in the word stellium. All it means is a bunch of stuff. It really does. It's non-descriptive. It's like saying I have a bunch of stuff. So just don't worry about the word stellium. You got planets. What are the planets? That's the only thing that's important. So, Moon in Capricorn, Neptune in Capricorn, Uranus in Capricorn. Um, Moon first quadrant, but second old sign house, and obviously it's not in great dignity in Capricorn. But Moon in Capricorn is very responsible, and it's good for leadership. and Capricornian things like business, like being a boss, like being like providing for your family, right? It's not very expressive. It kind of on a personal note, Capricorns have to learn how, Moon and Capricorn especially have to learn how to relate to the people that they love, because they just don't have a natural intuitive understanding. And both my father, my stepmother, and my son have Moon in Capricorn, so I got it from multiple sides. These people are really handicapped with expression, right? With the ones they love, they just don't know how. So that's something she'll have to learn. Um, but second house is great for yes, wealth and all that money mindedness, and especially Capricorn, but also it is the adornment, it is the looks, the makeup and the hair and the jewelry and the clothes. So people with strong second house also have, like, speech is activated so they can speak well, but they also really know about aesthetics and how to make something more luxurious. And they add a lot of body, or dress it up, make it up, make it look good. And this would apply in a very sort of Capricornian sense, being so. Moon is actually the eighth, eighth cusp lord, eighth lord. So that's interesting. So she's bringing resources into the first, but moving to the second. Shared resources with others, to herself. It's probably good. I mean, for money. It's a full moon. Yeah, her moon's big and bright. Yeah, it's not obviously it's in Capricorn, but it is a full moon. So relationships are great. Full moons have a special kind of destiny, ripe karma. Um, that's something that some people I've seen online don't quite understand. It's a good combination, generally speaking. And moon, actually, because sun's in Cancer, moon's in Capricorn, moon is dignifying the sun and Venus and Mercury. So her relationships, her career, um, the sun is ruling it's not really ruling a cusp here, but it's most of the eighth house. So again, the therapy, the psychology, shared resources. Is she single or married or what?
She is single. Uh, I did want to add on to, she's very expensive. Like her lifestyle and everything, like the beautification is definitely there. It's not like she's spending money outrageously on things, but it's always the best possible quality, and she has a high respect for herself to always put the best out that she wants to have. If
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's usually like second house placements. Depends on what planets are there, but yeah, they can be very expensive taste. They like to doll themselves up, make themselves look like $1 million. And they'll probably have $1 million, if not now, at some point. Um,
yeah.
so especially with this full moon. Full moons are great for relationships of all kinds, because it really bright, because the moon, when it's a full moon, the moon is full and bright, right? So it's a luminary. It's a luminary that's illuminated. The moon is not always big and bright, right? So here's a big bright moon in the first house, but second whole sign house. It's in Capricorn, so definitely business and creativity with Neptune and Uranus here as well. So and I love this combination. It's really interesting. Neptune, Uranus in Capricorn. It was that early 90s conjunction that inspired the whole grunge movement, which I don't listen to grunge music, but I do find it really fascinating and interesting that this is the astrological signature of that. Grunge really being very earthy in Capricorn, and then Uranus and Neptune is very kind of expansive and esoteric, and Uranus is very shocking, and Sun, it's a really interesting combination. So there's something very creative here. very interesting aesthetic that, like, you'd almost say a grunge aesthetic, right? Um, that she can bring to something very earthy but weird at the same time. Um, yeah, it's fun. I like it. Um, let's see. Mars is conjunct Chiron in Virgo. So that just tells me that she's probably very health minded, and does she go I think she goes to the gym, right?
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, Mars and Virgo. Um so Mars conjunct Chiron. Let's see. Mars is ruling the fourth and the 11th and 12th cusps. So yeah, interesting. Definitely the 12th because it's 12th whole sign house, 12th cusp. So Mars related to the 12th tells me that's often an indication of like some esoteric or like martial arts or yoga, um, and something artistic, creative involving Mars. And then Chiron says something very unusual or different, right? Just out of the box. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, so she does a lot of yoga.
Uh-huh.
There's I don't remember exactly what it was called, but there's this like specific form of yoga that she really enjoys. She enjoys a lot of like classical stuff with body movements as well.
Interesting. Yeah, that's probably related to the Chiron, just making it more unique and um I mean there is this opposition to Saturn. It's direct with Mars, but it's tying into this Chiron. Saturn can often represent older people or authorities, and that's second and well, it's the second cusp, third whole sign house in the third. Um Now do you know does she is there an older person in her life? Some authority figure.
Yeah, I would have to guess probably you're speaking on her mother. There's a lot in her family life that was like very traumatic, yeah, like in her younger life, but a lot of the people around her are much older than her. So
Yeah, I mean that seems like a cheap question. Is there somebody old? There's usually somebody older in everyone's life. So I forgive me for that question, but it is tied into the fourth house and the second and third. So siblings perhaps as well.
yeah,
People are in her larger family unit. Saturn's retrograde. Saturn and Mars combinations are usually kind of aggressive, physical. They encourage the person to be more physical in some way or another. Um, is she very adventurous?
super adventurous. I actually recently spoke to her and she's like all the way in like I think like South Florida. Like and she lives in California, so she's always somewhere else. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's the Mars Saturn opposition that you know. Saturn is like the structure that really forms Mars. Mars benefits from Saturn actually because it exalts in Capricorn. Saturn debilitates in Aries, so Saturn weakens, but Mars loves it. So it's going to be good for her Mars. It's going to make her very physically active, right? I mean, I have Mars Saturn conjunction. I've known other Mars Saturn like squares or conjunctions, and all of them seem to have something very physical as part of their life. It's the Saturn really pushing that Mars. Yeah. Saturn's retrograde in Pisces. Um, I mean, the retrograde is definitely something like resistance to authority, rebelling against authority. This could be related to siblings or, I mean, Saturn's so old. Does she have an older sibling?
Yeah, older and younger.
Okay.
But like a majority of her family is like a lot older. So I know you said it was a cheap question earlier, but I would say it's very valid and there's like a generational difference in her
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. If Saturn opposes a lot of personal planets, the person can have one older person who's a major influence in their life. I've seen that. Um, all right. So the nodes, South Node Taurus, North Node Scorpio. Oh, that's, I mean, that's just like me. Um, and then, but she's really young. So right now she's probably living it up because she's still in her South Node. It's in the fifth house. Entertainment, fun games. She probably likes children. But she probably has good money. Um, and it might not be, well, it could be her own money and it could be inherited money. Just because it's South Node, and usually people when they're young don't often don't have their own money. But a lot of luxury, a lot of comfort, a lot of ease right now, and that's going to change as she gets older. Um, Fortunately, unfortunately, it is what it is. Um, so yeah, what do you say about that?
No, that's pretty the enjoying the finer things is definitely accurate. She is working towards making a lot of money. That's like something that we always talk about. So I could definitely see her moving towards that North Node and changing to make even more, definitely.
Yeah, and it is in the 11th house, so groups, networks, community, career success, popularity, things like that. Scorpio would be psychology, astrology, occult, shared resources, could be inheritance. But the thing about North Node and Scorpio is that it's brutal until you own it. Because especially coming from the coddled life of a South Node Taurus, and I speak from experience, um, North Node of Scorpio is really harsh. And what you have to do to make it work is you have to go in that cave, that dungeon, and find the buried treasure. You have to put in the work, you have to put in the effort. It's there, but it's not like just get like South Node in Taurus is like a bank account. You just need an ATM card and you're golden. It's a little different when you're hunting for buried treasure. But once you find that buried treasure, you are greatly empowered with North Node and Scorpio. So it's a bit like if you're caught off guard and you don't know what to do, it can be very harsh, North Node and Scorpio, right? Brutal, right? Painful. Scorpio, death, rebirth, struggle, living on the edge, the razor's edge, the Scorpio edge, right? And she got Pluto and Scorpio there too. But here's a bit of advice, words of wisdom. Like she's gonna have to dig for her treasure, but she can find it. That's the beauty in it. And once you have that resource within you, it's very empowering, right? Much better than a full bank account because there's no end to how much treasure you can discover with that North Node in Scorpio.
Yeah, I
So
would definitely say I don't know if she's like had the necessarily the best early childhood, but I know that she's been given the tools, and as she gets older, like she's getting to that having to find the buried treasure herself. And I could see how sometimes like she would be frustrated about like not being where she wants because she puts a lot of pressure on herself, like financially a lot. And I'm like, I think that over time as you get older with that, because I saw that when I looked at her chart, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is some sort of lifelong, you're gonna have to constantly like, because I have Scorpio, like to better yourself to actually get to where you want. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, with Mars ruling the fourth cusp, the IC, and Chiron being here, with the opposition to Saturn, I see that there's probably some rejection, right? From maybe she's a little too weird for her family, and they were hard on her, and they did reject her to some extent. Is that true?
oh yeah, a lot. Her mindset is completely different from her family's. Like she wants to like achieve way more than they just like settle for in a way.
Yeah. So I just want to throw this out here. Don't just look at Chiron and just be like wounded healer. And I say this every time, but because people like I mean, not that many people in the astrological community are really listening to me, so I need to keep saying it. Because it's wrong. Unless there's a bad aspect to Chiron, it does not represent wounds or rejection. It represents something weird and different that potentially could be rejected, but you only see that with bad aspects, right? So the Saturn opposite with the Mars and Chiron, Mars ruling the fourth, that tells me that Yeah, there's something. Yeah, and then also Mars in the ninth is very adventurous. Mars in the ninth loves to go on, long, travel to foreign country, go on hikes and adventures, and they're the most adventurous people. Yeah, especially with an aspect of with Saturn. So that's true, right? You already
Yeah,
told me.
100%.
Yeah. All righty. Um, part of fortunes in Gemini in the sixth. So I think that's related to, this Mercury Venus also because it's queer. So that seems to make sense. I'm seeing a lot of part of fortune is something that I'm just starting to utilize and to see how valid it is. Because I only trust things if I can make sense of them and they seem to work well um in the charts to my um awareness. And it seems to make sense so far. So it is in conjunct the moon ruling the eighth house. Um, there could be some power struggle, perhaps with her mother around her, her business, her counseling, things like that. Um, Also, moon in Capricorn can represent a mother who is quite tough and quite not unloving, but just kind of cold and harsh.
Yeah, the situation with her mom, like we've talked a lot about that, even with me, with my parents. It's like her mom was very tough on her in relations to her other siblings. Like they got it off very easy and they didn't have to do as much. But for whatever reason, like her mom just like really pinned everything responsibility wise on her. So she had to always do a more, and it really put her in a space where she could not express herself as a child, and that connection with her mom.
Huh. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Um, I know somebody else who is a Capricorn moon whose mother um didn't breastfeed them because that's what the doctor said. So their very initial early stages was cold and hard. No breastfeeding from mom, which is interesting. And I know another Capricorn moon whose mother is quite tough. Generally, that's the case. That's the way it goes. Capricorn moons have tough mothers.
Yeah, yeah.
And check this. So Saturn seems pretty slow there. Um, Jupiter's in good dignity. So the good thing about her is that she's probably very healthy and can live a a long life with Jupiter and Sag because it's the ascendant lord. And that shows that she's in general going to be, you know, in good dignity, her as a person. 12th house probably also indicates that she might have some connection to something exotic or foreign lands, perhaps. Is she a foreigner herself?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting specifically, but I know she's from South America.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Right on. Um, do you have any questions for now?
None other than like thanking you, of course, for like doing her chart. I'm sure she's gonna be really happy about this because she's been going through her Saturn return now and trying to make sense of what it is that she should be doing as like a calling. And I've like kind of hinted maybe it could be something more spiritual than what she's doing, like, but also trying to make a business aspect about it because finances are important to her. But yeah, I'm sure she's
Yeah,
gonna.
yeah, and it will be more as she gets older with the North Node in Scorpio, right? The spiritual aspect, the esoteric, occult, astrological. Well, I don't know how astrological she's, but psychological. She'll be more like drawn to the sort of deep mysticism of Scorpio as she gets older.
100% see that.
Um, sorry, this is from my last video. No, hold on. Okay, I gotta open her chart. Sorry. I want to look at her Draconic chart because I like doing that.
Okay, gotcha.
Alrighty. So that's really interesting. She's got her Draconic sun within a couple degrees, few degrees of her ascendant in Sag. So she's very Sagittarian. Then Venus is in Sag. Mercury's at the anaretic degree of Scorpio, but it's conjunct. So Venus is conjunct her Jupiter, which is her ascendant lord, and Mercury's conjunct her natal Pluto. So what does that mean? I think Sun on the ascendant. It's not Sun on the. It's Draconic Sun on her natal ascendant, and that would tell me that there's some subtle quality that. Well, first of all, it says that underneath that she is quite Sagittarian. She's got the ascendant in Sag and her Draconic Sun in Sagittarius. But Sun also Draconic Sun conjunct the natal ascendant says that her as a person is probably, she can make a name for herself, right? Because this is emphasizing herself as an individual, the Sun, Draconic Sun on the ascendant, right? So she can really shine almost as if natal Sun were on the ascendant. It's not the same, but it's like a subtle, it's like a hinting at that she can make a name for herself, right? She can be in the light. She can, be in front of people, speaking, communicating, performing, doing things, and have people talk about her, you know, as a name, as an individual. Because sometimes people get well known for themselves, sometimes like certain names become like highlighted, this person, that person, right? The famous names. Other people become famous for what they do, and it's almost like their work outshines their name. Like we know that their work, their production, their what they produce more than who they are, right? And that's the difference. Some people are very successful because what they do, but they become like anonymous basically, right? And some people, their name becomes famous. So this is more of an indication of somebody whose name can become famous to some extent. I'm not saying like how famous, but definitely certain recognition could be there. And then Venus is conjunct Jupiter, which is our ascendant lord, and Venus, also the great benefic. I think that's generally good, right? Also showing some positivity coming from her herself, her name, because this is the extension of the ascendant, the ascendant lord. And then Venus ruling the MC. So further pointing to the fact that she could make a name for herself, and she probably should go for that, in her field. Definitely try and put herself out there, gain notoriety for her as an individual, be her own boss, right? Which she probably already is. Then Mercury is conjunct Pluto and Scorpio, which tells me the counseling, the psychology, the really understanding people. That's going to be quite strong, right? Because it's Scorpio, it's Pluto, it's Mercury, the intellect, the communication. It's definitely connecting there, and it's in the 12th. So she's probably a natural psychologist, right? Part of fortune is in Scorpio in the 11th. Again, so like a scorpionic groups, networks where she can be the leader. She can create like some kind of network and be successful at it, right? Groups, networks, career success, 11th house, Scorpio, psychology, resources, hidden treasure, shared resources, counseling, therapy. things like that. All right, what else here? I mostly look for conjunctions because that says a lot, or conglomeration of planets. Um, Jupiter is conjunct the South Node in Taurus. I mean, that's what I have natally. South Node Jupiter in Taurus. It's in the 5th house. So that tells me actually that she's probably a good teacher. And does she like kids?
She loves kids, and she definitely could be a teacher.
Yeah.
Um, I've been trying to kind of like show her that it's almost as if she doesn't necessarily want to be the leader or the face, but a lot of whenever she goes into places, people are drawn to her naturally anyway. Like there's an energy that she has, which I think is that draconic sun on the ascendant and the Venus, where people naturally go to her. It's not necessarily always the best publicity because it brings a lot of jealousy from other people. But I do see that if she stepped into a role of where she took the initiative instead of being the assistant or wanting to help, she could do a lot for herself.
Yeah. Well, she does have that full moon, and full moons are very attractive to other people because they represent both sides, and the sun is a luminary and the moon's a luminary here too. They're both big and bright. Full moon, right? The full moon lights up the night sky, whereas the sun lights up the day sky. Right? So yeah, and of course this is gonna help too. Sun and Sag on the ascendant, the draconic sun, right? And then the Jupiter South Node shows she has some natural wisdom. Jupiter in the 5th house also you see a lot with yeah, you'll see it with children's teachers, but also spiritual teachers. So she could have some natal kind of inherent wisdom about her, naturally Jupiterian practical wisdom, earthy wisdom. That's what I have.
Yeah, she does. A lot of psychological things that we talked about were we talk about a lot of community based stuff, and then we talk about like religious, and then we talk about politics. And so like when you were speaking about she's not necessarily religious, she's very spiritual, but she's very aware of social constructs. Like we've talked about gender, we talked about race and politics and how they all intertwine, and how someone's trauma from when they were younger could affect the way that they look at a group of people racially, and then how that could make them a certain political party. Like those type of things she's able to dissect and really just break that down for people to see it and then bring them all together so there's no like barriers or walls.
Yeah, and that's also largely due to this North Node Scorpio 11th house. Also, part of fortune probably helps with that. But 11th house deals with the very big picture, um, social issues, political issues, worldliness, and like I have my moon in the 11th house, so all that stuff is like really top of the importance for me. I'm very aware of that stuff too, and the Scorpio is going to really penetrate, like especially as she gets older. It's probably already there, but like you just said, but as she gets older, it's going to become even more important. She's going to become more socially aware, more politically minded, and more penetrating into the depths of what's really going on. Not buying the lies, not buying because you can't fool a Scorpio, not an empowered Scorpio. I mean, some Scorpios are just sleeping, of course, but an awake, aware Scorpio, you can't fool them. They're going to see through your bullshit. They're going to see through everything. Right. So she's going to see through all the lies of society and be really aware of what's going on in truth, not just on the surface.
Yeah, I have we have like a joke where every time I need to cross a minefield, it's like I would contact and like reach out to her like, hey, what do you think about this? And I'd give her the scenario with like the social setting, because she can really just scrape through and be like, hey, this looks like a trap, this could lead to this. She's very, very keen on that ability. It's honestly like a gift for her to be able to do that.
Nice. Yeah, exactly. And she got a Taurus ascendant, Draconic. Um, so that's interesting. And then, well, and then here are two, both her ascendant lords, right? Draconic ascendant lord and natal ascendant lord conjunct each other in Sag in her natal 12th. Fascinating. So Venus is sort of like a secondary personal ascendant, Draconic ascendant. Anyway, and then Moon. moon's in Gemini in the 6th, conjunct the part of fortune. So there is a bit of service orientation to her, and that's okay. 6th house is good. It does like to serve others. It's very helpful, competitive, but hardworking, and you know, likes to do the same thing every day. Likes to work for others, help others, and be diligent and all that. It's very academic and competitive. And it's good. It's also a balancing factor for Scorpio, which is so dominant. But together, I mean, she's got 6th, 7th, and 8th, and that's really the best, excuse me, the best combination for dealing with others, because then you get all three sides, the service to others, the equality with others, and the dominating others, which, it's not just dominating, it's also like take no shit and see through all the bullshit. Scorpio. And then of course, Uranus, Neptune. It's in Gemini, it's conjunct the descendant. So I mean, this probably doesn't show up much, but she probably has a good sense of humor. And yeah, likes to, I mean, Neptune in the 7th, they can be a bit slippery, I guess, because Neptune can, they like very, yeah, she doesn't, I don't know how much it manifests being draconic, but anyway, if it were natal, then it would be interesting for sure. But I'll just leave it at that. Let's look at some other things. Your secondary progressions. All right. This is our second. I'm just looking at all the normal stuff that I look at. So this is our progressed suns in Leo. That's great. Leo is dignified. So she's got about 14 more years of that, where her sun, and it's in the 8th house. So psychology, therapy, shared resources, digging deep. And when she does get married, she could have a windfall of money from her partner, because that's often what happens with 8th house activation. I mean, it's not the 7th, it's not the 7th lord's in the 7th house, so it would, not like if it were in the 8th house, but that's also, you don't want the 7th lord in the 8th house. It's not really great for relationships. But she could, especially with Venus here and good dignity sun, she could receive money from others. But just in general, it's a good time for her with sun in Leo. My secondary progressed sun just moved into Leo, and I can already feel it. It's like, hallelujah. Outside of emotional cancer, I really didn't like that. No offense to cancers, it's just a bit too emotional for me. Like, I don't want, I'm a Gemini sun, Virgo moon, so it's like, it's kind of, it doesn't work as well. I think, at least it didn't feel that way. But anyway, sun in Leo is dignified. It's in domicile, so it's great. And yeah, but this is a good time for her. Mercury also in Leo. So that's good. What else? Mars in Libra, but it's in the 10th. So Mars in Libra, can be passive aggressive, but I guess it's good for relations, for working with other people and stuff like that. So is what it is. And it's not her natal Mars, but let's see. MC conjunct her north node. That's interesting. Secondary progressed MC conjunct north node. It's probably activating that. More Scorpio stuff. Moon's in natal Capricorn. So she's got her secondary progressed moon return, but her ascendant is also, so it's conglomeration of first, second house, late first house, early second house, um, second house cusp. It's pretty much conjunct the second house cusp. So that's activating her second house, her resources, her assets, her self-worth, um, feeling like $1 million or looking like $1 million, that sort of thing. Being very mature and responsible, and it's also conjunct Neptune. So that's great for creativity. I mean, not so much in Capricorn, but so it's mixed. So it's like heightened creativity, but Capricorn. So it's kind of like dry creativity. That's what it is. Dry creativity. Good for business, practical creativity, good for probably really good for what she does.
Yeah, she started a business this year, and I think it's been like really good for her because she's gone, like, for instance, on her, so she's gone viral several times. And it's always interesting what has happened. Has gone viral is not what she intended for it, but I'm sure it's that activation in the eighth house.
Yeah, I mean it's probably a couple things. Probably the sun is in Leo, and then Mercury and Venus will also benefit from that, right? Um, Mars is in the 10th. It's not in great dignity, but still Mars in the 10th directionally does great. That's where I have my Mars. Well, it's conjunct the MC, but Mars in the 10th is great. You put tons of effort and initiative into work for yourself, into working for yourself, into your own career, your own business, your own public image. So there's that, and then the moon. Moon in Capricorn, obviously difficult, but because natally she already has it, and so the ascendant is here, moon's here, second cusp is here, Neptune, Uranus is here. So, yeah, it's probably pretty good. I mean, Neptune, Uranus, that is a little bit like she needs to be responsible with that. I mean, it's Capricorn's very responsible, but like I would say to her, definitely watch out for consumption, meaning drugs and alcohol. Second house. Second house deals with consumption. Moon is our heart's satisfaction. So Neptune's drugs and alcohol on the lower end, and Uranus is something very, shocking, need for stimulation, right? Cigarettes, coffee, late nights, being radical. Moon, Uranus in any conjunct any personal planet can be just too radical sometimes, and I'm that way all the time because I have a conjunct the ascendant, and I have to reflect on that a lot and just be like, it's probably not the best thing for me to be like, too explosive, because it just doesn't work that well, I think, in general. But she probably has a really good sense of humor too. So,
Yeah, she does.
yeah. Do you know about her consumption habits? Does she go towards extremes?
I would say it could be volatile. I would definitely say like the jovial aspect is there, enjoying life to the fullest.
Yeah, yeah. Like, probably loves to party, and maybe,
Yeah,
yeah. Of
it's
course,
been down.
yeah, a lot of young people do, but needs to be hauled in for her, because it can. I've seen this combination before, in fact, and I know it can get out of hand. So,
Yeah, most definitely. But she is like toning that down a little bit, but it definitely was.
yeah, yeah. Also, she does have her Saturn in Pisces. Um, and Pisces tends to be ultra liberal with themselves. Um, and Saturn is ruling the second cusp. So that deals with food and consumption, drugs, alcohol, all of it. So, yeah, just, yeah. Um, and South Node Taurus as well. Probably very fond of food and all sorts of things she can put in her body. Uh,
Yeah.
so, all right. Let's look at the transits. All right. So Pluto's in Capricorn, conjunct her, um, Uranus, in the second. So she's probably quite obsessive about making money right now.
1,000%.
Security, security, personal worth, all of that. Pluto in the second can be very, very obsessive with money and appearances as well. Now she will be heading into her Saturn return. I mean, it's in the same sign, but Saturn's still quite away. Neptune is actually conjunct her natal Saturn. Um, so this, I think, could trigger even more sort of Neptunian um, indulgences, right? Because Saturn, again, ruling the second, dispositing all these planets in Pisces. So again, I would just say, uh, careful of the drugs and alcohol. Careful of delusion. Careful of overestimating her own worth, her own value. Just because Neptune and Pisces is so expansive, and here's triggering the Saturn in Pisces, which is relating to the second house, the third house as well, communication, the intellect. Pisces, Neptune and Pisces in the intellect can be probably very psychic, in fact, but also delusional. Delusional if she allows herself to overindulge in the lower aspects, meaning drugs and alcohol. Right. So, um, something to be careful of. North Node is in the fourth in Aries. So definitely a physical time for her at home. She probably likes to be at home. I mean, who doesn't like to be at home? That's such a stupid thing to say. But North Node kind of pulls you in that direction wherever it is. So physicality, North, I don't know. She's probably very active at home. Let's put it that way. Physically, are you still there?
Yeah, I am. I was gonna say she like travels, but then if she's not traveling, she's at home. Like there's no going and adventuring in her, like she's at home. So it's a weird dichotomy.
I also want to say, like, yeah, but like with the Aries and the North Node, it's probably like when she's at home, she's probably doing a lot of stuff, and she's like rearranging and exercising and fixing and just go go go.
Yeah, she doesn't sit still.
Jupiter and Uranus are in Taurus in her fifth house. Um, so I mean, this is Jupiter and Taurus for everyone is probably is sort of like driving people to stock up their cabinets with food and security and all sorts of stuff like that, hoarding food, food for comfort, overeating, things like that. Saving money, things like that. Uranus and Taurus definitely shakes things up, but it's not really doing much here. I mean, there's not a whole lot. Even when it was in the South Node, it was radical, earlier. It was creating some upheaval in her fifth house. Um education, fun, games, romance. I don't know, all the fifth house things, right? It created some turmoil, but it's kind of moving away from the south node and conjuncting the sixth house cusp. So that could shake up her daily routine.
Okay. Okay. I aside from the multitude of stuff that she does do, like while she's at home while working, um, I'm not like aware of what she could be looking to shake up, so I couldn't give you feedback on that.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Saturn, I know when not Saturn, when Uranus was in my sixth house, or I can't even remember anymore, but um I know Uranus in the sixth house will cause somebody to have like multiple sudden job changes if they're in the job world. She's obviously self-employed, but still it could really shake up her work life, her daily routines, all that. And it's just starting because it's just, it is conjunct by 2 degrees, so it is beginning to do that, shake up that um the daily grind, cause some radical shifts in that. Um yeah. I mean, that's it for the major transits. I don't really look at the most of these other ones because they just, I mean, Mars in Libra, it's conjunct the MC, that's good. It's not going to be there for long. Mercury's in Virgo, that's good. Not going to be there for long. Um, yeah, South Node in Libra, that's probably good for business, good for relationships in the 10th house, good for, her career. All right. Normally I would do this solar returns. Should we look at them or not?
If you think it would be helpful, sure.
We'll just take a quick look at her solar return.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah, so July 11th, 2023. Yeah. And normally I look at the perfections, so might as well. Mars, Aries. So it's an Aries perfection year. If people out there don't know what a perfection year is, it's a predictive technique where you start when you're born at 0 years old in the first house, first whole sign perfection year, and it goes whole sign by whole sign houses. Then you turn 1 and it goes into the second whole sign house, 2, third whole sign house. So you can, just count and you can do it that way, or you can just look up if you have a computer program, you can look it up. So it's fourth house perfection year. So natally, her Mars is in Virgo in the ninth. But this Mars is also in Virgo in the ninth. So probably I mean, from July of this year. So it just happened. So this full year from July 11th to 2023 to July 11th, 2024. This will be her chart, her solar return chart. And I look at it on top of the natal chart. You can look at it independently, but I usually just like to look at it this way. So it's gonna be very natural for her. Mars is the planet of the year, Lord of the Year, it's called. And it's conjunct the ninth cusp. So like adventure, travel, physical exercise, activity. Mars and Virgo loves to exercise for health, right? Mars and Leo loves to exercise to show off its muscles. Mars and Virgo loves to exercise for health. So she's gonna do a lot of like physical activity, gym work, taking care of her health, taking initiative for her health, being very active to her health. The ninth house indicates that it's a good year for travel, very adventurous, hiking, camping, going on adventures, all kinds of stuff like that. um studying, you're being, philosophy, um health philosophy, she could study about health, about all aspects of health, not just physical activity related to health, but all aspects of health. um is she in school?
No, but she's actually thinking about going back.
That she would in this year. I mean, because yeah, this it's activated. Venus also is, I mean, technically in the eighth, but getting pretty close to that ninth. So Venus is kind of like what we love to do for leisure and fun and enjoy. But it's very creative in Leo. Um, yeah, so this would be a great year to study and all the other things I said. Um, Mercury's in Leo conjunct part of fortune in the eighth house. So, and that lines up with what she was doing, that seventh, eighth house stuff, therapy, counseling, being psychological with her friends and her, clients, stuff like that. She can, good year for that. Part of fortune seems to be heavily supporting that. The Mercury is ruling the seventh in the eighth, right? So that's very psychological with others. That's my natal position. My seventh lord's in the eighth house, and eighth and the seventh. That's why I do what I do. One of the reasons. So she can do something similar in her own way, obviously, counseling clients, and being very psychological about it. MC is supporting her son. That's quite good. Sun in the 10th in the solar return chart. So definitely a lot of career ambitions. Great for starting business. Seventh house business. Right? And then we got Moon exalted conjunct Jupiter. That's a great combination. North node, so it's a nodal opposition here. North node in Taurus, conjunct Moon widely, but Moon tightly conjunct Jupiter. Moon Jupiter is generally a great combination. So fifth house stuff. She could have a lot of fun this year. Be a great year to work with children or just education in general. Romance, fun and games, entertainment, joy. Just all fifth house is very creative. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, with her business, she can be extra creative this year. Um, yeah.
Yeah, she started.
Go ahead.
No, she started a podcast.
Oh yeah, that's good. Podcast would definitely relate to fifth house. And then part of fortune conjunct Mercury and Leo, that also supports that. She could talk about some deep stuff, like psychology or penetrating. Obviously she didn't study psychology, but so it's going to have to be on her own, in her own language, but deep penetrating subjects.
Yeah,
um
she's going over her childhood in the podcast, and it actually did really well. It got enough feedback to like motivate her to continue because she was like holding on and not necessarily knowing if it was a good idea or not. Kind of out in a way. She got the feedback. She was able to kind of see like, oh, okay, like people really do take what I have for value when I say it. So
yeah, also look at this. Mercury, part of fortune, are square the nodes, both her natal and solar return, both. So her Mercury is huge this year. Like she definitely has to be on the spotlight. It's the seventh house, so bringing other people, relationships, talking to others, communicating with others, um, in a very deep way, in a very like intimate way. So it's perfect, right? Podcast, Leo, eighth house, um, very deep, intimate kind of stuff. The square to the nose shows something you have to do because it's tension. It's tension from the past and the future, and it's something that it's square both these. So it's like, wow, like yeah, she really has to focus on this Mercury and Leo this year. And her progressed sun and if yeah, it was Mercury and Venus all in Leo, and Venus is in Leo. So that's all supporting it as well. This kind of eighth house communication stuff. Really interesting. Obviously Neptune's in Pisces. We already talked about that. That's the same. Saturn's in Pisces. That's the same. When Saturn does move to her Saturn return, that's going to bring up a lot of issues with the people in her family, the rejection. It's going to make her even more kind of physical, right? Because the opposition to Mars. And it's going to be a challenging time for her, but a time of maturity and resolution, a time to heal old wounds and confront issues around her family and those older people in there.
Yeah,
Obviously, go ahead.
those have definitely come up already. So I would definitely say that's already started. So
Yeah. Well, with this Neptune here, it's going to be blurry. It'll be more clear when Saturn comes into conjunction. I mean, this Neptune's probably triggering it, but not in the best way. Even though Neptune's in Pisces, there's probably there probably is a lot of compassion, a lot of openness, acceptance, but it's going to come to more of a head when Saturn um uh comes to its return. Pluto's the same as we said before, kind of like this obsession with security, self-worth, finances, food, appearances, things like that. And ascendant is Draconic, solar return ascendant is right in the 10th house in Libra. Again, very good for business and career. So perfect. Start a business. All right. Well, I like your friend. I haven't even met her, but I like her. I mean,
she's an amazing person. Most people would.
cool. Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, do you have any more questions?
No, honestly, like thank you. I'm sure she would love to thank you as well. I genuinely believe that everything you said is accurate because I've known her for that long, and I could definitely see her as like a big spiritual healer, psychological person in the future, and just maybe she'll grow into it over time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, right now, I would say let her get really successful at her business. Let her satisfy all her security needs, make tons of money, become a big shot, make that $1 million or more, right? And then she can, once she has that as a base, then she can go in even deeper to help others, become more socially conscious, socially active, and in the biggest sense of the world. We're developing that psychological stuff, and yeah, studying also wouldn't be a bad idea for her. But yeah, awesome. Cool. So I think that about covers it for this reading. And so I'm gonna stop sharing. Um, is there anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. My pleasure. And I just want, before we wrap up, I just want to say, so like if anyone else wants to do this, with your own chart, do it online, in a video, hit me up, just email me and we can do that. Or if you know somebody who you have permission to, who you know well, and you want to read their chart in the same way that Liv did for his friend, we can do that too. But otherwise, that's it for now. Um, like, subscribe, share, book a reading with me. Macroastrology.com is my website. Macro Gold Machine is my email. And yeah, definitely book a reading with me. And please hit the like button. I already said that, but it's important. And I'll see you guys again soon. Macro, no, what's my name? Mediocre Astro Mediocre Astrologer signing off. Meh, he's okay. All right. All right, bye.